Professor Jagdish Chandra Bose, he was well aware that on our planet Earth, all things that we see around us, idam sarvam, which consists of mineral kingdom, vegetable kingdom and animal kingdom. He took 3 samples, a thin metal sheet representing the mineral kingdom, a vegetable tissue representing the vegetable kingdom and an animal tissue representing the animal kingdom. And he applied identical stress and strain on all the 3 and recorded their response by an automatic recorder. And he placed those recordings before that audience at Royal Institution London and challenged them, please figure out which is the response of the mineral, which is the response of the vegetable, which is the response of the animal. Nobody could, because they were all identical. And you know how he ended his lecture? He said, I quote, I have shown you this evening autographic records of the history of stress and strain on the living and non-living. How similar are the writings, so similar indeed that you cannot tell one apart from the other. Among such phenomena, how can we draw a line of demarcation and say, here the physical ends and there the physiological begins? Such absolute barriers do not exist. It was when I came upon the mute witness of these self-made records and perceived in them one phase of a pervading unity that bears within it all things, the mode that quivers in ripples of light, the teeming life upon our earth and the radiant suns that shine above us. It was then that I understood for the first time a little of that message proclaimed by my ancestors on the banks of the Ganges 30 centuries ago. They who see but one in all the changing manifoldness of this universe, unto them belongs eternal truth, unto none else, unto none else. Friends, humanity had to wait for 80 long years when another scientific evidence came by Alain Aspect and co-workers in 1982 in Paris. This is known as the experimental verification of Bell's theorem. Now, what is this Bell's theorem? You see, in 1964, J.S. Bell, he gave a mathematical formulation to one of Einstein's objection to Heisenberg's uncertainty relations. Now, a little introduction of what Einstein had not agreed to Heisenberg's uncertainty relations. You see, uncertainty is inherent in the very nature of things. There is a lot of physics and philosophy involved, mathematics involved in Heisenberg's uncertainty relations, but unfortunately Einstein never believed in uncertainty principle of Heisenberg till Einstein died. We will not go into the physics and mathematics of Bell's theorem, but the philosophical fallout of Bell's theorem. Bell's theorem, in very simple language, supposing we have 2 photons, 2 particles of light, twin brothers, let us call them. One moves clockwise, another moves anti-clockwise. Supposing we separate them by an enormous distance, and to one of them we give a change right up, the twin brothers immediately goes left down, so that the moment remains again 0. They are in communication with each other in an immediate and instant manner. That was what Einstein could have never believed, but unfortunately Bell's theorem was experimentally verified after Einstein's death. I think Einstein died in 1962. No, Niels Bohr died in 1962. Einstein died in 1957 or so. Then this Bell's theorem was reconfirmed by Nicholas Giesing in 1975. Now, the moral of the story is that everything in this universe at the quantum level, at the level of a particle of light, is connected with every other thing in a most intimate and immediate manner. We are one. Universally, we are one. So, that is a scientific evidence which came as late as 1982 at Paris of the statement by a Rigvedic rishi who said, Ekam sadvipra bahudha vadanti. It is one which appears as many. That is the backbone of Indian culture. In addition to those palaces and temples and minarets you have in Delhi itself, the Qutub Minar. If you go to south, you have number of temples and palaces and tombs throughout in the length and breadth of India. They simply indicate the material aspect of Indian culture, but the most important aspect of Indian culture, which is still vibrant and valid and contemporary, is the philosophy, the religious part, not religion in the sense we have, as I said in the very beginning, a religion where you have a prophet and you have a book. Fortunately for us, Hinduism does not suffer from that defect. You will be surprised to know that the Vedas, which you might say they are the books of the Hindus or the scriptures of the Hindus, they have been condemned by the Upanishads, and especially the Mundaka Upanishad. A question is asked by a householder to a sage. The name of the householder is Shaunak, the name of the sage is Angiras. Shaunak asked Angiras, Kasminnu bhagavo vigyate sarvam idam vigyatam bhavati iti. O Lord, O sir, tell me that by knowing which everything else becomes known. It is a very valid question. Even today our young children, our young boys and girls might like to know what is the big use of studying all these so many subjects, physics, chemistry, botany, zoology, mathematics, medical science, engineering and what not. If we can know that, by knowing which we know everything else, that is a wonderful thing to have. And you know the answer that was given by Angiras. He condemned the Vedas by name, and if you want I can even quote what Angiras replied to Shaunak. Angiras said, there are two types of knowledge, one is superior knowledge and one is inferior knowledge. He said all the knowledge contained in the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sam Veda and Athar Veda, in rituals, code of rituals, grammar, etymology, meter, astrology, all this knowledge is inferior knowledge, apara vidya. He said in Mundaka Upanishad verse 115, Tatra apara Rigvedo, Yajurveda, Samavedo, Atharvaveda, Shiksha, Kalpo, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Chando, Jyotishamiti. All this is inferior knowledge. Then the question was asked, if all this is inferior knowledge, then what is superior knowledge? And the sage said, Atpara, that is superior knowledge, Yaya tadaksharam adhigamyate, by which that one which appears as many, that one immortal is realized. So, the emphasis was on realization of that one which appears as many, and they were very honest and very straightforward in giving a methodology, step by step methodology. And you have this Patanjali Yoga, where you have this 8-step method of Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, leading to the realization of that one in Samadhi which appears as many. Incidentally, there is one single verse in Kathopanishad which summarizes the whole process. Paranchikhani vatirat swayambhu tasmat paran pashyati nantaratman kaschid dhirah pratyagatmanam akshat avrita chakshuhu amritatvam icchan. This single verse explains all the 8 steps which are so elaborately described in Patanjali Yoga Sutra as leading to the realization of that one which appears as many. The verse means our senses, the five senses, my eyes see something which is outside of me, my ear hears some sound which comes from outside, my tongue tastes something which is on the dining table, my nose smells something which is on the dining table, I touch something which is outside of me. So, all of them, they are outgoing, they are directed outwards. Kaschid dhira, some hero, it needs a heroic effort. What did he do? Avrita chakshu, he gave an about turn to all the outgoing tendencies of the five senses, including the mind. And what did he observe? What did he experience? He experienced that the ultimate truth of the outside world, the external world, and the ultimate truth of my internal, vast, unexplored internal world was one and the same, and he named it Pratyagatma. He saw, he experienced that self. So, this approach of experiencing that one which appears as many, that constitutes the backbone of Indian culture. So, we see that the hallmark of Indian culture is a fusion of the material aspect and the mental aspect, Abhyuday or Nishreyas, that is the term used in the Kathopanishad. The Nishreyas part was taken care of by the term which is widely misunderstood these days, that is Dharma. Now, Dharma is not religion. Religion is a very bad translation of Dharma. These people living on the eastern side of the river Sindhu, or the Hindis or Hindus as we call them. I remember Iqbal writing that song, Sare Jahan se Achha Hindustan Hamara, Hindi hai, Hum Watan hai Hindustan Hamara. Now, this term Hindi is also used for people living on the eastern side of the river Sindhu, that is we Indians. Now, did we have a dharma? In the sense religion is understood as a dharma, wrongly of course. We did not have a concept of religion, as I told earlier, that is a prophet based or a book based, but we did have dharma. Now, what is dharma? Dharma is a very subtle term, very difficult to understand. We have so many definitions of dharma, but the one which is widely accepted is dhriti kshama damosteyam shaucham indriya nigraha dhi vidya satyam akrodho dashakam dharma lakshanam. These are the 10 characteristics of dharma. What are they? Dhriti, fortitude; kshama, forgiveness; dam, self control; asteya, non stealing; shauch, purity of body and mind; indriya nigraha, control of the sense organs; dhi, intelligence; vidya, knowledge; satyam, truthfulness; and asteya and akrodha, absence of anger. Now, these are the 10 characteristics defined as dharma. Anybody who inculcates any or all of these in his character and behavior, in his personality, is known to be a man of religion. And these are not time bound characteristics, they are timeless, eternal, and that is why we call Sanatan Dharma. Unfortunately, this term again has been prostituted as Sanatan versus Arya Samaji, Sanatani versus Arya Samaji. So, we have become expert in distorting our religious terms. Sanatan Dharma simply means duties, that which is substratum of not only human life, but the society at large since time immemorial, that is called Sanatan Dharma. How did we get these characteristics from? These characteristics have been taken from the Bhagavad Gita, the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It deals with divine traits and devilish tendencies in human beings. Even when we were talking about this Patanjali Yoga Sutra, the 5 yams and 5 niyams, they have also been taken from the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So, the Bhagavad Gita has a unique position in our cultural tradition. It gives you all these 26 divine traits in the 16th chapter as abhayam sattva sanshuddhi jnana yoga vyavasthiti danam damascha yagyascha swadhyaya stapa arjavam ahimsa satyam akrodho tyaga shantirapayishunam daya bhuteshwaro lutvam mardravam rhira chapalam teja kshama dhruti shaucham adroho natimanita bhavanti sampadam devim abhijatasya pandava. Lord Krishna enumerates these 26 divine traits to be inculcated in our character, our personality, and they have that universal character. They are not say specific of Hindus. Everybody, every human being need to have these properties inculcate in his character, in his or her character. This is called Sanatan Dharma. This is called Dharma. This is the definition of Dharma. What are these? First is abhayam, fearlessness. Now, fearlessness, why did Krishna choose this divine trait as the first one? You see, the cause of all mischief, all our dukkha in our life, they are due to fear. If I have given some wrong information, I have stolen something, I am afraid. Any wrong thing I do, I am afraid. So, fearlessness is the first divine trait. The others are purity of heart, steadfastness in knowledge, yoga, almsgiving, control of the senses, yajna or sacrifice, study of the shastras, austerity, uprightness, non-injury, truth, absence of anger, renunciation, tranquility, absence of calumny, compassion to beings, non-covetousness, gentleness, modesty, absence of fickleness, energy, forbearance, fortitude, purity, absence of hatred, absence of pride. These belong to one who is born for the divine state, O descendant of Bharata. They are addressed to Arjuna. Now, tell me, what is dogmatic about these characteristics? What is Hindu about these characteristics? These are universal. So, these people living on the eastern side of the river Sindhu, that is the Hindus, they were inspired to acquire these divine traits and avoid those devilish tendencies which have also been enumerated in the 16th chapter known as the Devi and Asuri Sampat Vibhag Yogo Nam Shodoshodhyaya. It is not only necessary to know what we have to acquire, but it is also equally necessary to know what we have to be aware of. We do not have to acquire, we have to shun, we have to be indifferent, we have to avoid all those devilish tendencies which human beings normally have. We will not go into the details of those tendencies, but let us stick to the dharma part, the cultural part of our people on the eastern side of the river Sindhu.